All right, good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. Happy Monday morning. My name is Alan. I'll be your host this morning, serving as COO of Ice, faculty member in our fitness athlete division, and helping out with our modern management of the older adult division as well. Live here on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook Live is completely different now, so hopefully I'll still be able to see your comments. The screen is completely different though. Apologies for being late. We had a little bit of a schedule mix-up, but here we are now on Q&A Monday. So before we get started, don't forget to check out the website, ptonice.com. Click the resources tab. All sorts of free resources for free Con Ed, free workshops, tons of great resources added every week on the resources tab. Make sure you're signed up for Hump Day Hustling if you're not already. Get that email in your inbox every Wednesday morning to get some of the research and the content that we're going to be talking about today. So what is today's topic? What is today's question? How do we tell the patient what's wrong with them? How do we approach that subject when we are going through our evaluation, when we are going through our initial examination? We are looking at ranges of motion and strengths and maybe special tests and trying to figure out what is kind of ailing the patient. How do we put that together and tell that person what is quote unquote wrong with them? I had this great question last night from Matt in our fitness athlete group, and I think it extends obviously beyond working with the fitness athlete and extends to every patient. It's a conversation worth having. If you do follow Hump Day Hustling or if you follow our social media, you saw last week we published a synopsis of a great paper that just came out from Jeremy Lewis and colleagues on special tests for the rotator cuff, an article that publishes this month in JOSPT, but we shared the synopsis from the publish ahead of print article, looking at what is going on, how accurate are our special tests when we're trying to figure out what tissue is causing the issue. This article obviously looking specifically at the rotator cuff. Really strong conclusions in this article. I love it. It's kind of aggressive, and that kind of suits my personality and my bias. But looking at a lot of different evidence and saying, what does the evidence say about our ability to determine where and what tissue specifically is causing the patient's symptoms when they come in and say, I have shoulder pain, I have knee pain, I have back pain. What do those special tests show us? They don't show us a whole heck of a lot. We kind of know that already. We've had a lot of research on that, but this is a great study looking at 11 current practice recommendations for care in musculoskeletal pain, and Lewis and colleagues say, hey, none of those 11 recommend special tests. They're probably just irritating already sensitive tissue that has high concentrations of things like substance P and pro-inflammatory cytokines. So we're just kind of cranking on tissue that is generally inflamed and painful, and then trying to make a conclusion from there, which is not the best way to do things. They go on to say, well, why do we use these? Why do we try and hunt down and find out what tissue is causing the problem? And they kind of go back to entry-level education and say, if attaining a level of competency in performing these tests is an academic expectation to pass your class and graduate and get your license exam, then it makes sense that students really have no choice but to learn and apply them and then trying to rationalize in their own brain why they're using them. Go on to say there's great allure in taking a complex and multifaceted examination process and distilling it down into a simple yes or no question that's answered with one of these special test results, and that at best these special tests, when we're trying to hunt down what specific tissue is causing a problem, should be considered a pain provocation test and kind of nothing further. And then this really strong conclusion, using special tests to inform individuals about their specific source of symptoms, and then going on to recommend either surgical or non-surgical care, is not best practice and arguably not even acceptable practice. So quite a great conclusion there, very strong. And so, what does that say? It says we don't really know what's causing a tissue, right? We know a tissue issue. When we know someone is having pain in an area, we know that area is going to be generally inflamed. The whole area is going to be kind of taking a bath in these pro-inflammatory chemicals, and trying to do an empty can test or a Neer's impingement test or some sort of meniscus test is going to provoke the patient's pain, right? And depending how irritable they are, you might flare that person up and really kind of ruin the evaluation. So we have to be very cautious there with kind of bombarding these patients with these tests, and that a lot of different research shows that we don't really know, it doesn't really correlate well to what specific tissue in that area is actually causing the problem, because the whole area is inflamed. And so, answering the question, what do we do? How do we tell people what's wrong with them? I would argue don't even go down that path, right? That's not a successful path to go down. What does it look like when I explain what is quote unquote wrong with somebody? It may sound simple, and we've said this on here a lot of times, but it's sometimes as simple as saying, hey, it looks like the pain is coming from your knee. And a lot of us will step back and say, it can't be that simple. The patient doesn't want it to be that simple, but I would argue they do, right? Because they've probably been reading a lot about what could be causing what's going on, right? They could be reading that their low back pain could be caused by cancer or some sort of something much more worse than when you tell that person, hey, it seems to be coming generally from your low back. I don't see anything that makes me think it's anything more serious. I'm not suspecting cancer. I'm not suspecting any sort of serious nerve damage. Your muscles still appear to be very strong. Your walking's not affected. You're not having trouble going up and down stairs. Like, Frank, I don't see anything serious here. I think it's just coming from your muscles. I think if we get you moving, you'll start to feel better. We can get those muscles a little bit stronger so that you're less likely to have this injury happen again in the future, and get you back to moving, right? And we don't want it to be that simple, but sometimes that's what the majority of patients want to hear. And there's always the argument, well, some people want to know. They really want to know. And yes, I would argue there are a select group of people that want to know, like, hey, what do you think it is? Alan, what muscle is it? What tendon is it? What nerve is it, right? And for those people, being honest is what I find to be the best practice, right? Listen, I don't really know. The whole area is kind of inflamed. There are so many muscles here when we're talking about your low back, Frank. There are layers of muscles here. I would have no way to know. And some folks will come at you and say, well, do you think getting an image then is warranted, getting an MRI? And here's where I say no, because without a pre-image of your back before your injury, we have no idea how the tissue has changed regarding the symptoms you're feeling now. And this is really where having that trial treatment that gives that person symptom relief in the evaluation is where you make your money. Being able to show that you can reproduce that patient's pain, but also reduce it in the evaluation, whatever way you choose to, manual therapy, modality, getting them to do some isometrics or some active movements, some cardio intervals, literally anything you do that can show them we can change these symptoms shows it's not anything serious, right? Like, Frank, if it was cancer, I would not be able to take away your cancer pain with a couple sets of isometric exercise, right? That's not how it works. We know that based on how you responded to what we tried here in the clinic today, that it's nothing more serious than kind of muscles, and that's what we do here at physical therapy, right? We get people stronger, we get their tendons and muscles stronger, and there's no reason to believe that this won't get better. It already got better here in 20 minutes today with me. So this isn't some insurmountable thing, and I don't think it's anything more serious. And that has a lot of value to patients, to not tell them what is wrong with them. They've probably heard that already from another healthcare provider or a family member or spouse or the internet or something, being told, hey, it's just from your back, it's just from your knee. I don't think it's anything more serious. It's probably more relieving to somebody than we could possibly imagine, right? I hurt my hamstring really, really bad back in December, and my whole leg was numb and not working, and all the catastrophizing that happens after an injury can be amazing. But when the inflammation clears and we get back to active movement, we realize, okay, it was just some small muscle damage that got better with exercise. That is incredibly relieving. So I would argue, don't chase that what's wrong with you. Most people don't care. They want to know, what do you think is wrong? Well, I think it's coming from your muscles, and we already got you better a little bit today. There's no reason to believe you won't continue to get better if we continue down this same treatment plan that we're already on. And that's enough for the vast majority of people to get bought in and commit to coming back to seeing you for some more visits, and you can continue to work that magic and show them those results over time, right? So we're guiding that person down that path, but getting them to say yes is really, really important there, and having that education on that it's nothing more serious, so they can kind of go home and not need to Google what's wrong anymore, or Google how to fix my calf pain or my back pain or my knee pain anymore, or probably all the stuff that they've already bought off Amazon devices and in bath bombs and all sorts of crazy stuff to try and make their symptoms a lot better. If we can clear that up, they go home with not only physical relief but mental relief as well, and I think that's really, really important. So that's how I tackle that question. Yeah, there are a couple people every now and again who really want to know what muscle, what tendon is it, but for the most part, going down the path of telling a person what's wrong is never the way to go. It's coming from your muscles. It got better today. There's no reason to believe it won't get better, and let's continue on that path, and that's going to be enough for a lot of people. And just know too, like if that's not the way you're used to practicing, you're used to kind of giving people a laundry list of special test results and going down your sheet and explaining what's wrong, that the evidence does support that we don't really know what's going on when we talk about relation between special tests and what exact tissue. So that can kind of be relieving for us as well, right? We don't need to justify why some tests were positive and some tests were negative when they're all kind of testing the same thing. We know that it doesn't associate very well with what's actually going on with that person's body. So that's really relieving for us as well, right? When I push on somebody's shoulder and it says ouch, okay, I know something is inflamed in the shoulder, and we probably have to get the shoulder moving. That's super relieving on the PT's part as well. You're not laying in bed at 2 a.m. thinking, why did Frank have a positive NIRS test but a negative empty can? What's the relationship there? That can be very relieving for us as PTs as well, to not have to worry about how all those special tests link up with what tissue is damaged or may have been the original site of injury. So very relieving for us as well. So I hope that helps. We get that question a lot. It can be a little bit of a mindset change, but I think it's really worth thinking about as far as how we tell patients our results as far as the conclusion of our initial examination and our plan of care going forward. And I think if you start to adapt this way, you'll find that patients commit a lot easier to a plan of care. They don't seem as likely to want to go on and get further care, go on and get an image or some further intervention. They are much more satisfied to stick with you and give PT a try, knowing what you've told them. So that's what I've got for you. I hope you all have a great Monday. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you all next Friday for Fitness Athlete Friday. Other than that, bye everybody. Have a great week.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptionice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.